All right, let's start off with the Ford Big Board and look at what Mac Jones did last night. In his preseason debut, he went 13 of 19, passing for 87 yards, no touchdowns, but he also didn't throw an interception. He played 33 of 59 snaps. That's 56% of possible snaps. All right, let's take a look now at the deep dive on Mac Jones. We start with Phil Perry and Dan Shaughnessy. Both of these guys were at the game last night. Dan, I'm actually going to start with you. When you watched Mac Jones last night, and you have watched many iterations of Patriots rookie quarterbacks, what'd you think?
Well, there's a tendency to go overboard here. I know we're all doing it. It was a solid performance. That's fair. I think that in our case, you're so used to seeing Cam go out there and not do that, that it was kind of encouraging and enlightening. I thought he had great pocket presence. He was quick. He didn't try to do too much. He managed the game. Again, you don't want to say a young Tom Brady, but he played a little bit like a young Tom Brady, just kind of not doing too much and staying within himself. And I thought all of it worked. The offense looked like the old offense of 2002, all that stuff back when things were going, a long time ago, Charlie Weiss managing the thing. It felt like that.
Wow. Did it feel that impressive to you? Phil Perry, a young Tom Brady? Those are some lofty words from Shaughnessy.
Well, let's remember what Tom Brady actually looked like in 2002, Trenny. He wasn't the Tom Brady we know now, right? So I think this is the kind of offense, though, that Josh McDaniels wants to run. And Dan's right. It ran smoothly. It ran quickly. It was what we have seen from training camp and what we've been talking about in this program now for weeks. And that's a good sign. That should not have been a given for Mac Jones in this game because the bullets are quote unquote live. The threat of being hit is real. And we wondered before this guy was even drafted how he would react to pressure in the NFL. Would he be able to take a shot? Because he's not the biggest guy. He's not the most well-built guy, as we know. Would he be able to take a shot and bounce back up and continue to perform? Would he be able to avoid pressure at all? We didn't really get a chance to see him move around all that much. That's something that I actually have been a little bit impressed by during the training camp practices. But we did see him get hit. And we saw him pick himself up. We saw him deal with some adversity. He had to deal with some awful down and distance situations because the Patriots couldn't stop picking up penalties last night. So I thought all of those things were positive signs because we'd seen them in training camp, but you really don't know how a guy's going to perform when the quote unquote bullets are live until they're live.
Well, listen, he looked solid, I think, as everyone does agree. I wouldn't say necessarily spectacular, Phil. So when you watched him play last night, what stuck out to you as, okay, that was good, but not great. He's really going to need to improve on that aspect of his game if he wants to be a good quarterback, a top-tier quarterback in the NFL.
Well, because he's not one of these physically endowed quarterbacks that we're seeing come into the league year after year in terms of the size or the arm talent or the mobility, he has to be incredibly accurate. He has to understand where to go with the football first and foremost. And I thought we saw that, but he has to be incredibly accurate. He was not incredibly accurate last night. He had to throw to Jakob Johnson that I didn't think was all that great into the flat. He threw into Christian Wilkerson over the middle, went for 8 yards. Okay, you like the outcome there, but Wilkerson had to kind of jump as he was making the catch. It wasn't a yard out in front of him. It wasn't helping him maximize those yards after catch. So the accuracy portion of it, which is a hallmark of his game, that should be one of the number one things you look at when you're looking at Mac Jones and calling it a positive. That was something that I felt was a little bit lacking last night, actually. Even though he threw that.
So, Dan, I mean, obviously, Mac Jones is going to have areas to improve, as Phil just pointed out. But I do want to ask you, when you watch how he played last night, do you look at it and go, well, this guy is actually working with offensive weapons that aren't even as good as he had at Alabama, so it's going to be an adjustment period for him, too?
Well, when he first came into the game late in the first and throughout the second, he had the real offensive line. A lot of the skill players were there. In my view, a couple of balls were dropped on him. The bucket throw in deep in the left end of the end zone, that could have been a touchdown. I thought the numbers could have been better if things had gone his way a little bit more. What Phil's saying, of course, Phil really knows this stuff. He's seeing it for what it is. I just think that this is, I was so encouraged by what I saw. And in my view, this guy is going to be your quarterback. What are we waiting for here? I know Bill hates rookie quarterbacks. I get that. I know it's a small sample, a preseason game, all that stuff. But at this point, having seen Cam last year and Cam, throw the ball behind James White on the 3rd and short in the second series last night, I'm ready. Just go with this because it felt like, again, the old Patriots. And I think you can manage the game with this guy and build on this guy.
Well, I don't think that Cam Newton would like to hear that. Although after last night's game, he was asked about Mac Jones, how he's handled things so far, and the quarterback complimented the rookie QB.
He wants to be so perfect, and I see his preparation is always, pristine, and, that's what I admire about him. Being at such a young age, he knows how to prepare and knows when Josh asks quick questions or when a person asks quick questions, he knows how to kind of have answers for it. And everybody's different. Everybody learns different. But for him in today's performance, he's just going to keep getting better. And, we're going to be here for each other along this whole process, and that's what we're here for.
Well, what changed between about 10:30, 11 o'clock last night and late this morning? Because Cam Newton taking to Instagram on Friday with a rather interesting post, the caption reading, "I'm far from perfect, but loyalty, I deserve it." Dan Shaughnessy, I know you love some, Real Housewives like drama on any team in town. I know you're not on Instagram, but I'm betting that you have seen this and heard about this. What's your instant reaction to that? What do you think Cam Newton's talking about?
He needs to not do that. I mean, he's been a great soldier. He has said all the right things. Bill loves him because he doesn't rock the boat. They obviously have some sort of agreement, and that's in place. That tells me he does not want to stay here if he's not the starter. I understand that. All that said, if this goes the way it appears to be going, he's going to either have to get used to it or take off. And that, to me, was a red flag. That thing went out there today. And the loyalty thing, it's great. Bill's been really loyal to him, and he's been loyal to the Patriots. But we're not talking about loyalty at this point. We're talking about performance, and that's what's going to be critical as we get into this. So Cam's going to have to either accept it or get over it, in my view. And I thought that was a setback today in the whole Bill's plan to have this guy go along, get along.
Phil, what did you read into this? Because my mind went in a couple different directions. Part of me, I immediately thought it has everything to do with the Patriots. But I wondered, does that mean he's already been told that he's not going to be the starter, and this is him expressing anger about that? Is this him just sort of reacting to fans and media and our reaction to Mac Jones and saying, well, clearly this guy is the one? What's the purpose of a post like this?
I mean, who knows, Trendy? It takes me 5 minutes to figure out what is actually typed out with the font that he uses on Instagram. So that's first where my mind goes, is what does this thing actually say? Number two, I think it was a reaction to the reaction. And it might have been a reaction to what he heard from fans inside the stadium last night after Mac Jones came out of the game. Brian Hoyer comes in, and you can hear whatever fans are left there saying, "We want Mac. We want Mac." And Cam Newton might be sitting there saying, man, I played all last year here with one of the worst groups of offensive weapons in the league in the middle of a pandemic, and I've got one preseason game under my belt, and it didn't even go that poorly. And they're already cheering for the other guy. And I know it's not a negative cheer towards Cam, but the quarterback position, there's only one guy who can play. And if you're cheering for the other guy, you are necessarily rooting against Cam Newton in this instance. So that's where my head went. And I wonder, this is something that I've thought about for a long time now, really since they drafted Mac Jones. And I've thought all along that he'll have a chance to start week one. My question is, if he does, is Cam Newton here? I think there's a long list of reasons, and his personality really isn't 1, 2, or 3. I think there's a decently long list of reasons why you might want to not have him around, though, just to be fair to the rookie, to give him a real shot. But he's been very complimentary of Mac. Credit to him. It's just a question of what does this Instagram thing mean now, I guess.
Yeah, Dan, do you think if, like Phil has suggested, that if Mac Jones is the starter from week one, would Cam even at this point consider sticking around, though I'm not sure he has very many options? And is it in the Patriots' best interest to keep him around? Because could it be detrimental to the development of Mac Jones?
I think if you have Hoyer here, that's all you need. If Mac Jones is the starter, Cam's probably going to want to split. Whether he has other options, I don't know. But I don't see him being particularly useful here. Obviously, if Jones is the starter, wins the job, and then gets hurt, it's great to have Cam here. Whether he can accept that or not, I don't know. I certainly would understand if he didn't want to do that role. That's why you have Hoyer here. And that's why Hoyer played in the fourth quarter last night. Didn't need to. We know what he is. But there was so much sketchiness around the O-line, people who were in front of him at that point, why put Jones at risk? But everything you worry about is coming to a fore here, and that Instagram post is part of it.
Yeah, not a great look on the part of Cam Newton. Dan Shaughnessy, thank you very much. Phil, we'll check in with you again in a little bit. But Tom E. Curran has written about why the Pats shouldn't make a quarterback switch. First, it's about respecting the process, he writes. The rookie has to wrest the job from the veteran. Second, the pumpkin factor, as in when will Jones turn into one? Third, there's no real competitive advantage to letting the Miami Dolphins know who they'll be dealing with in the opener. Play it out. All right, Tom E. Curran, we're going to get to that excerpt in a minute and kind of what you meant there. But as long as we were talking about the social media post and what Cam Newton was doing, what was your reaction to it?
Don't do that. Come on, don't do that. Because it's not like people are knocking down your door, and it's not like people haven't been loyal to you. And this is really contrary to what you've been about in front of the media and behind closed doors. So my feeling is Cam Newton, while he has subjugated his ego and swallowed it and withstood 3 benchings last year and a low pay for a former superstar, just be true to what you've been. And the Patriots do believe that if Mac Jones takes over for Cam Newton in the short term coming up or further along down the season, that they can coexist. So hopefully that's what happens, because I think they're a better team with Cam Newton around than without. Good point by Shaughnessy. I do think that Hoyer can absolutely be the clipboard carrier and can replicate the offense, not in a sexy way, but just in managing it if somehow Mac Jones goes down. But they're better with Cam Newton here.
Even if Mac Jones ends up being the starter in what you predicted to be week 1?
Well, I mean, you put a gun to my head. Trini, come on now. I didn't predict it. I mean, okay.
I said if you're a betting person, pick a week, and you said week 1. So,
you made me bet. You made me walk up to the window. You made me walk up to the window. I had to put my money down, so I said week 1.
If that really does happen, then is it still in their best interest to keep Cam around? Like, do you think that's
it's in their best interest?
Yes.
100%. It is in their best interests to keep it engaged, supportive, mentoring Cam Newton in-house. And hopefully they can find the common ground in which to do that. But if Cam says to them, look, appreciate everything, but going to try and find someplace else to apply my trade, maybe you could release me, I would bet they would do that.
So even though, and getting back to what you wrote in your column, even though you feel like at this point Mac Jones has kind of won round after round after round, you think it's also in the Patriots' best interest to not come out, next week in Philadelphia and say, Cam Newton or Mac Jones, he's our starter. Why do you think they should wait? What's the reasoning behind that?
I just think let it be incremental, Trini. We don't have to, after 2 weeks of intra-squad practice and one game, say, okay, that's it. Party's over. He's the guy. Let it play out. Let it go as it normally would. Let the process play out. And so that there is no doubt among the players, among the coaches, what the result is. And there are still plenty of unknowns about Mac Jones. I mean, he has to have more snaps, more reps. How durable is he? How well will he stand up to being hit in the NFL? So don't piss the guy off, i.e. Cam, unnecessarily until, okay, time to make a decision. We out of time to make a decision. Boom. We make it now.
And there's also the factor of you might have already made it privately, but there's not necessarily a reason to announce it publicly.
Do you agree with that, though, buddy? Why do it now? It's August 12th. Who cares?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But they may have made their minds up already and not even have shared that with Cam or Mac. So they're not sharing it publicly with anyone. They might know because that is the best course of action. That's all.
Yeah, they see the way it's leaning. If it keeps going this way, we're going to do this.